guys, it's Justine here from I Should Read That, and today I am going to talk to you about my pound per book saving scheme that I've been doing for the past couple of years, and to show you the little book haul that I got with the money I saved from my last year's reading. So I talked about this on TikTok and people seemed really interested, so I thought that I might as well do a little video about it because I don't think I've ever done a dedicated video. And I can't remember who exactly I got this idea from, because this is not an original idea. I think it was my friend Aoife from Pretty Purple Polka Dots. I'll pop her down below. She's really fabulous and you should be following her anyway. But I remember seeing this, I think from her on Twitter, and decided it was a really good idea. So for the past 3 or 4 years, I have been saving at least £1 per book that I have read, setting that money aside, and then at the end of the year, I have a little deposit of cash ready to be spent on new books. And what's particularly handy about this is January and February kind of suck for me. I have anxiety and depression, which can get quite severe, and January and February seem to be the months where that really kicks off. So any little serotonin boost helps quite a lot, and there's no better serotonin boost than a giant stack of books showing up at your door. So for a while I was doing this via like cash stashed in my desk, but now because of the pandemic and whatnot, not really wanting to go outside and hit the ATM, I have actually moved over to a savings app called Plum. This isn't sponsored by them, they don't know I exist, but if you are in the UK, it's something that's quite handy for doing like savings and stuff, and you can have a little pocket where you can transfer in £1 per book or however much whenever you finish something, or at the end of the month if you tend to forget like me, and it will kind of save it for you. You can earn interest on it, which is not very much, and then at the end of the year I just take that all out of my Plum account and pop it in my bank. And this year I decided to go with Amazon because I really wanted to stretch that £126 into a few extra books. This is by no means my book budget for the year. You guys know me better than that. It's just a really nice like thing that I can dedicate specifically to books, and you know, have that little budget set aside, and it's just a nice thing to do. I know people who have done £5 per book because they read a little bit less, and so they want to put in a little bit extra into their savings. I have done it in the past where I've saved £2 per book and I put £1 into the book fund and the other £1 into just like emergency cash fund. It was very helpful when we were having our bathroom floor refinished because we were about 20 quid short, and I had that at my desk. But yeah, no, it's just a really nice savings thing. It's still early in the year, so if anyone is interested in saving a little bit of cash this year, you can go ahead and modify this method to however it suits your needs. But of course, the best thing about this is having that money dedicated at the end of the year. So you can go ahead and buy out basically your entire wish list if you're feeling a bit sad like I was. So I ended up buying 13 books from my Amazon wish list. Again, I don't usually shop for books from them, but because I specifically wanted to stretch my money a little bit more, I decided to go with them. So without any further ado, here are the books that I bought with my savings from 2021. So first up, I just have one book that hasn't quite shown up yet, and I didn't want to delay doing an entire haul because of the one book. So I'm still waiting on it, but I have The Dead and the Dark by Courtney Gould showing up soon. So this is a debut YA kind of thriller horror book, and it sounds really fun. Apparently it feels like Stephen King crossed with Riverdale, which sounds like it could be fun. So this book takes place in a town called Snakebite, Oregon. Teenagers are disappearing, some are turning up dead. The weather isn't normal, and all fingers point to TV's most popular ghost hunters who have just come into town. So we follow Logan, who is the daughter of this kind of father-daughter ghost hunting team, and she has never been to this town before, but she, as soon as she arrives, begins to feel that there's more than just ghosts plaguing this town. So a girl named Ashley, Barton's boyfriend, is the first one to go missing, and ever since he does, she feels his ghost following her ever since. So everyone in town is shunning these ghost hunters, kind of with obvious reasons, I think, but Ashley decides that Logan, the daughter of this team, maybe the only person who can help her get some answers. Just a super quick note, the first line in this author's bio is Courtney Gold writes books about queer girls, ghosts, and things that go bump in the night. So I'm pretty much sold. I have heard very good things about this one. I know it was a highly anticipated book for a lot of people in the States. It came out at the end of last year, and I'm really looking forward to it arriving. So getting to the stack of books that I have with me now, the first one is The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. It's one of my favorite books. One of the best things about this going into the public domain means that we now get these really cute, lovely editions. So as I said, one of my favorite books. I just really wanted to own a nice copy. This has been sat on my list for ages, so I went ahead and I picked it up. This is the Wordsworth edition, in case anyone is curious. They're doing a bunch of really cute hardcovers of classic books. I also picked up the next two installments of Lumberjanes, which is a graphic novel series that I really enjoy. This is volumes 6 and 7. I don't tend to buy graphic novels very often because they can be quite pricey for, you know, how much reading time you get out of them, but this is a series that I really enjoy, so I wanted to use some of this savings to spring and get these two. So the series of books takes place basically in a Girl Scout camp that is just completely haunted by paranormal creatures and very strange things happen, but we follow a group of best friends and it's just really sweet and wholesome and lovely, and I love their camp counselor Jen, who's just constantly being terrorized by these girls who are so enthusiastic, and it's just really fun. It's like girl power and female friendship and it's just lovely, so I'm really looking forward to reading these. As you guys may have seen from some of my videos last year, this is very niche, but I got really into classic Japanese murder mysteries in translation, and there's a particular series that I'm really enjoying. I read the first two books last year, and the third one was published in December, so I went ahead and picked up The Village of Eight Graves by Seshi Yokomizu. The series follows one detective, and he's just so fun. I really love him and his mannerisms and sort of the way that his brain works. You know who he reminds me of? If anyone has watched the anime or read the manga, he reminds me of L from Death Note, and the way that he's kind of quirky and offbeat and maybe a little bit odd. But totally brilliant, and this just looks like it's going to be so much fun. I would definitely recommend this entire series, and I would definitely recommend looking into the Pushkin Vertigo translated crime fiction, because they've done fiction from all across the world. I picked up a copy of Priest of Gallows by Peter McLean. This is the third book in the, is it War for the Rose Throne series? I've read the first one, which is Priest of Bones, which has been on my, I think it was Best Books of 2020 list. It was on the best books of the year list that I made for the year that I read it. I can't remember when I read it, but I'm a little bit behind on this series. This is the third book. I've only read the first one, but I am making a big effort to read more series this year and to catch up on more series, so it seemed like a good idea to pick this one up too. The series basically follows a man named Thomas Piety, who is a priest coming back from war with his kind of band of men. He comes back to his city that he was living in, and he discovers that all of his businesses have been taken over by criminals. However, he's a criminal as well. He's basically a gangster, and this kind of turf war begins. These books are super grim, super dark. There's loads of content warnings with them, but they're fabulous. They're really well written. I absolutely love them, and the author's a really good dude, so I was more than happy to pick this one up, even though I haven't read the second one yet, because I know I'm going to. Next up, I picked up a book that has been on my radar for so long, and I've not really heard anyone talking about it, so it sort of like slipped further and further down my list because it wasn't being brought to my attention like so many other hyped up books are. But I finally went ahead and picked up a copy of Daughters of Nuri by Reni K. Ameo. This is a YA fantasy, I believe, and it looks really interesting. So basically we have a gruesome war that sort of marked the departure of the old gods from Earth. So the only remnants of their power exist in these two girls who are twins, and these twins are separated at birth, and this book is all about their journey of self-discovery, realizing that they are not necessarily human, finding their way back to each other, and defeating the man who defeated the gods. Is this even possible? I don't know, we'll find out. This looks really good, and I love this cover. It's beautiful. Next up, I have some good classic sci-fi, and I picked this up because apparently one of the novellas in this collection inspired one of my favorite movies that I didn't even know was an adaptation. So this is Who Goes There by John W. Campbell. The first novella, which is called Who Goes There, is the story that inspired The Thing, which I love. It's such a good movie. So this is a collection of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 novellas and short stories, all from the 1930s and 40s, and it looks really fascinating and really fun. I love The Thing so much. Again, one of my favorite movies, and it looks like, judging from the back cover here, that story is like a really, really strong influence on the film. It's not just like loosely based on it. It looks like this is like a serious adaptation, so I'm very excited to read this. I've never read anything by him before. So the next book that I have is Lakewood by Megan Giddings. This looks really, really horrifying on multiple levels. In this book we follow a girl named Lena, and when her beloved grandmother passes away, she sort of learns the true extent of her family's debt. She has to drop out of college, and she takes a job in the mysterious and remote town of Lakewood, Michigan. So this job is very strange. On paper it seems like it's too good to be true. All she has to do is participate in a secret research program that's seemingly filled with world-changing discoveries. So an eye drop that makes brown eyes blue, a medication that could be a cure for dementia, and golden pills that promise to make bad thoughts go away. But the consequences for the subjects could be devastating. So it says here that this is an unflinching look at the horror that has been forced on Black bodies in the name of science. I'm really, really interested in this. It sounds like it's going to be a deeply, deeply unsettling but fascinating read. I'm very, very curious about this one. The next book is also a horror book, but sounds significantly more fun and maybe less traumatizing than the last one. So this is Kill Creek by Scott Thomas. This looks really, really fun. So basically there is this house at the dark end of Prairie Road in the Kansas countryside. This is Finch House. It has been abandoned for years. However, soon the doors will be open for the first time in decades to a horror writer. So this writer is kind of a master of the macabre, and as a publicity stunt, he is going to spend Halloween night in one of the world's most infamous haunted houses, which is Finch House. But at least he won't be by himself. He will be with 3 other, presumably, horror writers. But what starts as a publicity stunt soon becomes a fight for survival. This sounds so fun. I'm really, really looking forward to this one. I think that this is going to be an excellent, excellent spooky read. Hi, editing Justine. I forgot one. So I am going to be going on a long-haul transatlantic flight soon, and I've decided to bring this book with me. This is The 7 Visitations of Sydney Burgess by Andy Marino. So it wasn't in my direct pile, it wasn't in my direct eyesight, so I just kind of forgot about it. So this is a new horror book, and it's one that I've had my eye on for a little while. I'm really, really, really excited to read it, hence me packing it in my bag for this long-haul flight. So we follow a character named Sydney Burgess, who has spent years burying her past and trying to build a better life for herself and her young son. So she has the respectable job, the home, the boyfriend, and, you know, life is good. However, she briefly opens her door to a masked intruder who knocks her unconscious, and everything begins to collapse. She wakes up in the hospital and tells a harrowing story of escape, but the cops tell a different story because the intruder is now lying dead in her house. So memories of past addictions begin to surface, and an unnatural darkness sets in, whispering in her ear, and it begins to change into something unimaginable, and the darkness has a horrible craving of its own. This is a demonic possession story, which is one of my absolute favorite things in horror. The tagline is "Possession is an addiction," and this just sounds really, really good. It's split into like the different visitations. I think that this is going to be a great airplane book. It will certainly ensure that I just won't sleep on this flight. And then last but not least, I have 2 more books. These are both really, really highly anticipated releases from last year that for whatever reason slipped through the cracks of my book buying. So the very first one is Chaos on Catnet by Naomi Kritzer. This is the sequel to Catfishing on Catnet, which is a really, really lovely, wholesome, contemporary YA sci-fi novel, and it's all about like found family and AIs who love cats and friend groups, and it's just a great book. Angela from Literature Science Alliance is the one who turned me on to Catfishing on Catnet, and I'm so glad she did. I'm so glad I listened to her recommendation because I absolutely loved it, and I think that the sequel is going to be amazing as well. So in the first book we follow a girl named Stephanie, and she and her mother have been kind of sort of on the run for her entire life. Her mother says that she is running from Stephanie's father. They can never really put down roots anywhere. However, she has a group of friends online on a social networking website called Catnet. The currency on Catnet is cat pictures. Why? Because nobody is aware of the fact that the person who runs Catnet is actually an AI who just happens to really love cats. It's so lovely. She and her friends, like, you know, they get together and they help each other and they support each other, and it's a super queer friend group, and it's just lovely. If you're looking for something that's like wholesome and nice, I would definitely recommend the first book. The second one looks really good as well. I don't know what it's about, I just bought it because it's the sequel to the first. And then last but not least, I really had no chance of not picking up Light from Uncommon Stars by Rika Aoki, because not only is this a cozy sci-fi novel, it's supposed to be wonderful, it also takes place in my hometown in California. So it says here that this is Good Omens meets The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet in this defiantly joyful adventure set in California's San Gabriel Valley with cursed violins, Faustian bargains, queer alien courtship, and oven-fresh made donuts. There's actually a typo here. It says over fresh made, but that's okay. I don't know a huge amount about this one. I know that Katie from Brightness Katie, I was gonna say Katniss Katie, Brightness Katie Reads really loved this one, and I know a lot of other people have loved it as well, and a few people have told me specifically that I would really like this. So I'm really looking forward to reading this. It's supposed to be beautiful, and I think it's gonna be great. So that is it for my pound per book savings and the haul that I ended up getting with the money I saved from 2021. I know I was meant to shrink my TBR this year. I could have spent that cash on things like fabric or yarn or, I don't know, really nice cat food for the cats or something, but I ended up spending it on books. I don't think anyone is all that surprised. It's a tradition at this point. I would love to know in the comments below if you have any kind of saving schemes or tips like this, or if there are any books in this haul that you happen to have really loved, or if they're on your TBR. I post bookish content to this channel fairly frequently, so go ahead and hit subscribe, check back soon, and I will see you next time.